Ozark Trail FS.2 Slalom, a link to a playlist down in the description, all my videos if you need to catch up on this amazing mountain bike. Today I want to talk to you about the rear suspension system, more specifically the rear suspension travel, how much this will compress and move this back wheel up and down. I've already released a video where I talked about the geometry specs, and at the end of that video I gave you numbers that were passed along to me for the rear suspension travel, 120 millimeters, which sounds amazing, but I also immediately put an asterisk at the end of that because I questioned those numbers based on my findings. I knew I couldn't achieve them, especially with this factory shock, this Exaform 291R. Look, a Horst Link suspension system is pretty basic. I've had multiple bikes with them, but I just couldn't get the numbers. And I shared my findings with Walmart, and as far as I understand, that went all the way up to the engineers of the bike. And those rear suspension travel numbers have been amended. No longer is it 120 millimeters, it's 100 millimeters of rear travel. And that lines up with my theoretical max travel here and how it would equate to the rear. So I'm gonna put an asterisk on that. Let me show you why. I have removed the rear shock from the suspension system, but this rear shock, the factory shock, is 185 by 48. And what the 185 is that's the eye to eye. The middle of this point to this point in the shock is 185 millimeters, and this is a 185 by 48, meaning it will squish down 48 millimeters. So that's 48 millimeters of travel here. And you can see as I'm moving this, as the shock would compress, this back end is moving up and down, and that's going to move the wheel up and down. See how that works? It's pretty basic Horst Link, very simple, very functional and effective. But the simplicity is where my concerns came in, because I knew with this shock design that there was no way that I could get a full 48 millimeters of compression, even if I loosened this to the point of non-usability when it comes to mountain bike riding, which, by the way, I did. I screwed this down so loose that I was going to give myself pretty much max travel, and what started happening was things like this would start popping out when I hit small jumps. So that's not usable. A usable tension is enough to keep the spring from moving, and obviously you don't want it to pogo. This is a pretty stout spring, which is part of this. So I said theoretically 100 millimeters of travel, and we'll look at that in just a second. But with this shock, and with this shock adjusted to the level of rideability, a usable travel, and using that little rubber stopper in there to measure a usable travel of about 22 millimeters. If you watch my slow-mo video in the review that I made on this bike, you'll see that it really wasn't squishing all that much. At max loosen, I can get 25-ish millimeters of usable travel. Now, obviously, you know, I could loosen it down to where it's not functional. And at that point, yeah, I can get close to the 48 millimeters of travel, but see, things fall out. It's just not usable. And not a problem with this shock. This is still a decent shock for this system because it's not a pogo stick. And all my years of budget mountain bikes, you know, there's a lot of pogo stick shocks. This is not one, and it tensions well enough, has a rebound adjustment that I've shown works. Saw that in slow motion, and I know that this pivot system works. My problem is with that 100 millimeters, let me just measure here and show you. This can be measured in 2 points, eye to eye, and then we can measure the travel with the eye to eye. So compressing down 185 factory, and let's see what I'm at right now. I am at, see, that's not quite enough. So let me open it to there. Right there is 185 eye to eye. Now, if I compress it down to 137, which is 185 minus 48, well, let me compress this down, and I know exactly where I need to get to the 137, and that's here, and look at that. That is exactly 137 eye to eye. Now, a couple things to note here. You might already start seeing that, well, things just aren't looking very functional because, uh-oh, and that's 137. 185 to 137 is 48. I mean, obviously, you don't want this slamming into the back of the seat tube and the full travel out of the shock. Well, you're just not going to get that out of this. But what this did, going from 185 to 137 here, so a full 48 millimeters of travel here, when I measured at the back, how much swing that made, it went from 550 millimeters to 450 millimeters, measuring from the ground to the center of the axle, and that equates to a 1 to 2.08333. We can actually drop the threes because in 100 millimeters of travel, they are inconsequential. So 1 to 2.08 millimeters of travel is the difference between the front and the rear. 1 millimeter of travel at the front gets 2.08 millimeters of travel at the rear. That is max travel here. Like I said, that's no good, right? We don't want that happening. That's no good. And that makes some difference between max and usable travel, especially with this factory Exaform shock. This, in a usable format, for me, I weigh 175 pounds, 22 millimeters of travel times 2.08 at the rear, that's 45.7 something. So say 46 millimeters of usable travel at that. And the max I could get it at without having the spring completely rattle was 25 millimeters, which equates to 52 millimeters of rear travel at the wheel. So this will move up and down 52 millimeters, at least in my testing with this factory shock and the suspension system. 185 eye to eye down to 137 is going to equate to 100 millimeters of movement here. So technically they are correct, but that is not the end of our story here, because you may already know from a previous video that I've upgraded this. I ditched this Exaform 291R and I went with the D&M air shock because that was what I had available. But there's one thing unique about this air shock versus the factory shock. First, let me state here that everything I'm about to talk to you about from this point forward is based on my testing. This is just me sharing my experiences and what I'm doing. I'm not making any recommendations. I'm just saying that I put a 190 on this, and in my experience, what I have found is that this works better than the factory shock, and it makes me wonder if perhaps this was designed to have maybe a 190 instead of a 185. Because look, a company designs a product to be one way. Even with cars, they do this, right? When you see the project cars and what ends up on the showroom floor, they use a lot of parts that they already have. So I'm thinking, this is my opinion again, that maybe this was designed to use 190, and I'm about to show you why. And they went with this because they might have found a bunch of these that were affordable and kind of fit the bill and worked. It functionally works great. In its factory form, it's still a fun riding bike, just not getting all the suspension travel. But when I put this on, something unique happened here. And you can see I have already taken off and adapted this over to this. But let me show you here. 190 eye to eye. So let's just measure this. So I'm going to go up to 190 eye to eye, which is right about there. 190 eye to eye. Now I want you to pay close attention to something here. If I go any further than that, so let me just hold it here. This pivot system will rock up. Look at that. See what happens? This is the horse link thing. There's a range of travel that you have that will give full sweep on the rear. But if you go too long eye to eye, that pivot starts reversing the flow of the works. It starts dropping the wheel, raising the wheel, rather, let's see, what does that do? Does that raise or drop? See, this drops the wheel, that raises the rear wheel. See what's happening there? So let's just get it to the point of here, So I'll say that's max extension. Look at this. That eye to eye is 200 millimeters, and that would give full max travel at the rear. But the reason I think 190 is it and not 200 is because of this block right here in relation to the eye to eye bolts, and because how this swings, there's some contact with a shock that would be in here. Going to start running into potential contact problems here. So I don't think 200, even though this swing at the rear might accept 200 before it starts reversing the process, 190 kind of feels like the good sweet spot to me. And I just happen to have had a 190 D&M, but I've had this for a while. Look at the date, 2021. I used this on the Mongoose ledge. Some people were going with 190 millimeter on a Mongoose ledge, and I showed in a video why that wasn't a good idea, and it was because of this right here. You go too far, and you're actually reversing the travel, and that's not good. But 190 not only fits, but it changes the rear travel. I'm going from a max functional travel at the rear, not usable, just functional, of 100 millimeters to 104 millimeters. For me, when I mount this and I take all the air out of this and I bleed it down, I can get the full 104 millimeters of travel at the back, even with air in it, using this little sag ring as a gauge and lowering the air so I'm getting full compression, say like you're riding it really, really hard. And even I had a rider ride this and jump it with this shock on, and they loved it. Said it really opened up the bike. But in that measurement, I'm still getting 100 millimeters of usable travel, which goes right in with the claims that this is a 100 millimeter travel rear suspension. But to get that, I had to ditch this shock and install a 190 eye to eye and a 50 millimeters of travel. So 185 by 48 to 190 by 50, it works for me. It's increased the travel. I'm actually getting my usable travel. I can use 100 millimeters of this, and that's a good thing now that the travel is officially revised to be 100 millimeters. I'm quite impressed, and now I'm wondering if, as I said, was it maybe designed? Sure seems like it. This travel, I mean, the good range that I have, it's not bottoming out on the seat tube, which is a no-no. Well, let's show you how close it is to not bottoming out. So what do we have? We have 190 eye to eye, and take away 50 is going to be 140. So let me go to 140 eye to eye. 140 eye to eye, and look at this. There's room. Safety margin. And that, my friends, is the story of why I upgraded this shock in my last video, and why this, I think, works better, at least for me. In my experience, doesn't look overextended. I know I have play without reaching the limits of this suspension system, and it gives me the stated 100 millimeters of travel, a usable 100 millimeters of travel with this 190 by 50. So I'm happy with this, at least for now. We'll see how far I push this bike, but more importantly, there are limitations. With this shock, still a great riding bike, still a fun riding bike, and 120 millimeters of rear travel, we know is just not possible based on what I've just shown you. This pivot system will hit, the support will hit, and this factory shock is not going to give enough travel to even reach that point, so it doesn't really matter. But this really opens it up. It works, at least for me. We'll see where it goes from here. Comment below with your thoughts on this, and what do you think about my 190 observations and about the suspension travel that I just showed you. 1 millimeter up front equates to 2.08 millimeters at the rear. That I have confirmed. And now we know more about the full suspension on this Ozark Trail FS.2 Slalom. It's a good bike, and it's getting even better for me. Thanks for watching, comment below, and have a great day.